Hey, my name is Kristi Leigh, and this is the Praise and Worship Podcast. I'm so excited to be talking with LCBC Worship today. Hey, guys. Most
What's
of them are
up?
muted. There you go. Most of them are
Yeah.
muted, so you got an awful lot of waves there. But we here at WJTL have been playing LCBC for, I'm going to say it's almost decades, plural, going back quite a ways. So you may be seeing some faces that you've heard over all of the years. Of course, if you listen to JTL on Sunday mornings, we play LCBC's church service at 10 o'clock. So a lot of these voices might be familiar, but we're going to be talking about their new project, Rise, and hearing a bunch from the crew. The first thing I want to do, since you can tell we are in like expanded grid mode, we've got the record for the most people I've Zoom interviewed with so far. I want to go around and say hi to everybody, right? So we're going to go around, say who you are and how you're involved with LCBC Worship. Okay. So Chuck, let's start with you.
All right. So my name is Chuck Gibson. I've been at LCBC for about 6 years, and I lead worship at our Lancaster City location and help with directing stuff with all of our worship leaders. But I want to add, when you said we've been playing LCBC for decades, just personally, I want to add that was, back when I was about 5 years old. So I'm only about
Me too.
yeah, same. So I just wanted to let everyone know how old I was.
Awesome. I should mention too that while LCBC Church is one church in multiple locations, this interview, also one interview happening in multiple locations. Chuck, where are you during this Zoom?
Right now, I'm at our Mannheim location.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. Let's go next to Carrie. Carrie, introduce yourself and you give your answers to that question.
Yes, I'm Carrie King. I am at LCBC Harrisburg right now, which is where I lead worship. And I am on songwriting panel and like all the creative team stuff. Yeah, I've been here for like 7 years at LCBC writing. And to add to Chuck, he does have a nickname, though he may have been 5. He is, Can I say it? He has a fond name of Grandpa Worship, Grandfather Worship. He's not, but that is.
It's
I had to drop it in there.
I know.
All the age comments.
So Matt Goss is not a part of this particular Zoom today, although his voice can be heard on the project, on the EP. I always thought maybe he would have that nickname. No? Does he have one? Don't tell him I said that. No one's answering.
Respond or not.
Yeah. You really should have that one. It's really like, maybe we can change that here on this call.
Barry, why don't you take that one? What do we call Matt?
All right, nobody really wants credit for any of that decision. So let's go next to Donovan. Donovan, tell us, a little bit about yourself, where you are, how you're involved with LCBC Worship.
Sure, I'm Donovan. I'm probably the newest or newer person on the page here. I lead worship at Branch Creek down in Harleysville area, and songwriter on with our team, and also help with some of the contract stuff and getting stuff together and making sure we're copyrighted and we got all our things going. So yeah.
That is some really important stuff. I think some people would have a lot of questions for that guy. Like a lot of churches are getting into recording their own stuff, putting it out there, and that's one of the big things that people are trying to figure out how to navigate the nitty-gritty copyright side of everything. So maybe you'll get hit up with some questions about that. Donovan, I have a question though about your mic. Are you just using your computer audio? Your voice sounds great.
Does it? Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, that's
just how his voice sounds. It's great all the time.
All the time.
My wife
got that guy on copyright. Awesome voice. All right, let's go next to Ryan. Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ryan Holmes. I've been a part of LCBC for a while. I've been on staff for 17 years. I currently serve as the Mannheim campus pastor, but I'm also the director of creative worship experiences at LCBC. That just means I kind of help oversee our weekend gatherings, but then also our other creative processes. I'd be like a creative pastor at other churches. So I help oversee this group that we're with right now. This is like our original song team, and actually just our song team we plan sets for our church, worship sets, but we also work on original music and original content together. So, and I'm coming to you from my basement. So
Nice. Now, your job description, Ryan, is fascinating. What is a key to pulling off creative worship experiences?
I mean, I think the key is a couple of things: having a great team and a great group of people to work with, and obviously, you know, the ideas that this group can bring collectively. But it's also just trying to serve the church best. And what's the mission of our church, which is to introduce people to Jesus and together fully follow him. And so we're honestly just throughout our sets each and every week, just trying to help accomplish that mission and that goal. And so yeah, just keeping, I think, the right things in front of you as well.
During the pandemic, did that change anything for you to be able to do creative worship experiences, when church was shut down? Did that bring anything up? I mean, you just have piqued my curiosity with this, and I think people can relate to it. So I'm just curious how that was for you.
So I think it changed a lot of things for everybody. We were really grateful to have had an online church platform that was already kind of in existence, but we really leaned on that like everyone else did, I think, during the pandemic. And so it did change the dynamic. You know, there were many weeks where as worship leaders, we were leading to empty rooms or to cameras instead of to people. And that was a really challenging season. We're so grateful right now that we have people back in our rooms and we're getting to sing and worship, and we're getting to hear what we think is the main instrument. It's not, drums or guitar or keys or our voice, but it's the church singing. We are here to facilitate the main instrument of our people singing. And so it definitely changed a lot. It changed how we had to think about small things like programming and transitions and all of those types of things. But yeah, it's been a wild year for everybody, but it's been great too. We're really grateful.
Man, I love that you called the congregation the main instrument. That is so important. And when they're missing, when that part drops, you go, whoa, it just kind of reiterates how central that is in worship in church. I mean, even if you go to like a women's conference or a men's conference and you just have just the ladies or just the guys, there's nothing like when that full congregation is together and that instrument is in full force. So I love that. And that's a great thing for people to remember, as basic as it seems. Totally awesome central thing to remember. Thanks for that, Ryan. Jordan, you are up next. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan, and I lead worship at our Ephrata campus. That's where I am right now. And also help with our creative team, our creative process, our production team, our music production, and then obviously a part of this team with song planning, song writing, and yeah, part of that process. Been here for about, that's like 12 or 13 years.
Man.
So, yeah.
Well, what I want to do in this conversation is I want to go through a lot of the songs on this project. We're going to talk about themes of resurrection, which is pretty evident when you hear the lyrics of these songs. There's also some bridges that I just adore on this project. Some duets and harmonies, kind of a back and forth. And then even though it's music, we're going to talk about some of the visual, because I feel like that is a key part in this project. So those are some of the things coming up. And even though Jordan went last in intros, he's going to go first because he's on the first track of the project. Good news. After a pandemic year that we all don't know when it's actually going to be over, but we've been in this for at least a year now. Good news as an opening track is amazing. It's also upbeat. So Jordan, will you please tell us about that song?
Sure. Yeah. So good news. So at one point in time, we all used to office in the same building and kind of like within the same space, right? And so a lot of us were kind of right next to each other office wise. And so collaboration was much easier back then. And so for this song, this is one that Carrie King and I actually often write together. And this is one that we collaborated on. And I think, it's sometimes hard to remember back to these moments, but I think for this song, it was one that I kind of had an idea, and I had like a kind of a framework for this song, and based off of like Romans 10 and just, sharing the good news, and that everybody is invited into this good news. Everybody is invited to know Jesus Christ and to be a part of that family. And so kind of had like the bones of this song, and went to Carrie and was like, hey, I have, kind of a starting point with this, and I have some ideas and would love to just collaborate and work together with this. And we sat down together and spent, some time on this song, and she actually came up with that hook, I think, with the O's, and added a few other things that just kind of took it from just a kind of an incomplete thought to a complete thought, and just made it what you're hearing on the track there.
Carrie, you have anything to add to the story of that song?
Sure. I remember, it's like the good old days. We always joke about being right next door, getting to just pop over to write. But I love that song because it was a couple of years ago, but like of all the worship songs that we were singing pretty regularly, there was none that really hit that topic of like sharing the gospel, like singing about that in a hopeful way. So, and I still love that. Like, it's a little bit different. It's just like anthemic, like just sing this, introduce people to Christ. Like it's just a more unique topic. And I really love that. And I still do. Yeah.
Cool thing I'll say about this song too, like Jordan and Carrie wrote this a couple years ago, and it was like such a great song that just had like kind of kept staying around. And it's just cool, the timing of how it worked out for us to kind of release it now. Because when we talked about this project, we're like, man, what a killer song for the time and space we're in. Like just the good news of the gospel right now. It's just such great timing. We all need good news right now, so we just really love that could be our like opening track too. Like that song setting the tone for the rest of the songs that we get to hear on the album.
Yeah, so good. I see a lot of nodding. Anybody else?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add was you talked earlier about the visuals of filming some of these songs being played, and I just remember the band working through this song in particular the first time. Once you finish this song, it was like this moment where exactly what Ryan just described, that like a song that you need in this season at this time, both individually, but then as a band, as we were playing that, you finish the song, you're like, man, this is happening in this moment as we're rehearsing, that like the gospel, the good news is such an important message for everyone right now. So I just remember us feeling that as a band as we played it.
Right. And honestly, that was kind of the first time that we actually played that as a band, I think, which it was the case for a lot of these songs.
Wow.
And you don't know sometimes until that moment where you're like, oh man, this feels right. This feels good.
That song feels awesome. It feels really, really good. I mean, it's got a great energy to it. Super encouraging. I mean, yeah, that song is just awesome. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Chuck, you talked a little bit about the visuals. Let's run with that for a second here, because I mean, the videos are super cool, and it's such a contrast from what we see so often that it's mostly dark, but there's like this glimmer to it. I mean, I'm probably not using all of the video guys' favorite description words, but to me, when I watch it, I see kind of how I feel in this season throughout the past year, just something that's very dark and yet very hopeful. And somehow that translates visually when I watch how you've done this. Also, it's just cool, the whole circle thing. I think worship leaders love to have a chance to be in a circle with each other when you're usually in a totally different lineup, on the stage. So who wants to talk about the visual part of recording this Rise EP?
I'm going to kick it over to Ryan. Ryan.
So back to what I said earlier, we have a really phenomenal team, and we have an incredible video department, and Brian Shaw helps lead it for us, and he's a really great videographer. And we kind of had this idea that we wanted this album to the theme was obviously resurrection, and rise, and we wanted to release it around Easter. And we just gave him words of like what we thought we wanted it to feel like. And then he was able to kind of put that into the what you see visually. And so we kind of got these lights that we were able to hang overhead that really just put off this really warm, but like you said, hopeful glow, but still in kind of a contrasty dark space as well.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to have, a lot of times you can go really far into lighting design, and which we do in our weekend gatherings, which is really beneficial to, I think, help the music translate. We just wanted this to be really simple and hopeful, and just kind of honest, and just kind of reflect the feel of the songs. And so Brian did a great job capturing that. And so we won't take credit for any of that, is what we're saying. Like Brian was the mastermind behind all that.
But all of that was done in-house with your team and in your spaces?
Yep. And so we have an incredible tech team as well, who was able to really help bring it to life. Then one of the things Donovan has challenged us on since he's been here. What do you say, D? It's all in the house, right? It's all in the house. Like, we can do it.
Everything you need, God put it in the house.
So yeah, that's just been a great reminder for us. And this, Chuck was just saying earlier, we met earlier as a team, and one thing that was just really cool about this project was just being able to see our team collectively work together, even cross departments, tech and video and worship and communications, and all of us kind of coming together collectively and bringing our own unique things to it, leveraging our expertise, but being able to do it collectively for one thing was just a lot of fun. And we're really grateful for the team we have.
Well, I can say just from listening to it and watching it, there is growth in all departments, because the final product is just a leap forward from things. LCBC Worship has been releasing things for years and years, and this one it's awesome. So it's great to hear that you involved your own people and your own departments and worked together and got to this place. That's a job well done for all of you. So that's very cool to hear. All right, let's keep on going. Let's go to the overall, because the second track on the project is Rise. There are 2 versions on the EP, and it's all, also the title track. Chuck, do you or does Carrie or whoever want to, the overall, we've talked a little bit about resurrection already, and that's one of the themes on this project, but this would be a good spot also to talk about the overall record.
I can start, but I will definitely kick this around. But
Yeah,
one of the things that I was sharing with the guys before we got on this call was, we've been, as you just said, LCBC has been writing songs for a long time, and it's been a big part of kind of behind the scenes what makes us, artists and followers of Jesus, is we express that through writing songs. And to be able to do that together is, such a privilege, because we know that our main job obviously is to help lead our church and connect with people and introduce them to Jesus. And so the fact that we could do this, and for us, it's been such a journey to figure out, how do you do this while you help lead a church? How do you actually carve out the time to write? How do you collaborate well? And so this particular project, what's interesting is we, after the new year, we were really in a rhythm of releasing singles, or trying to start releasing singles. And for us, it was like, how do we take these songs and give them even more life than they have? And is this a moment in time where we should do that? And what was interesting is you're looking at a list of songs that you've been working and rewriting and bouncing lyrics off.
Probably a list of like 40 songs, right?
Yeah. Yep. And what you're left with is, like, as individuals, we love learning more about the craft of writing songs, and especially for our church, if possible. But even out of our own devotion, our own time with Jesus, we're writing these songs. And so that's where, looking at that 40, it was like, we're seeing some alignment on what are the songs that we're just most passionate about, and they happen to all align with resurrection. And so the timing, it wasn't like, hey, let's write a resurrection album. Let's not, it's Easter, let's do that. These songs had kind of, as you as we said before, Good News was written a couple years ago, but these songs, Beauty and the Death, Ryan wrote that a bunch of years ago. It was like these songs just continue to live on top of that list. And so it was like this confirmation of, man, Rise is a moment for us to lean into the songs we already believe in, and they happen to align with Resurrection, which was just, again, just affirmation. Let's keep going in this direction, trusting that these are the songs for this season. So.
And what's funny and kind of crazy too is like Chuck just said, we started the conversation about this project back in, what was it, January, like beginning of January. So we knew we had like 2 months and a very quick turnaround time to get something like this ready for Easter. And so that was a fun undertaking too. And we definitely, I would say, learned a lot through that process, which we were even just talking about a bit, which was fun.
You guys only started this in 2021? That's amazing. Are there more songs on the way soon? Did you decide, okay, let's do the EP by Easter, and then is there something else coming? I don't know, give you another 2-3 months and maybe you'll have a whole nother 10 songs recorded. What else is coming up?
I think like what Chuck said is we're trying to figure out how we can consistently write and consistently put out music. So we don't have anything firmed up yet, but all we know is we want to continue to release stuff. And again, our first job is to lead worship, to help lead our campuses, help lead our church. And we kind of get to do this stuff, which is awesome. But we're trying to figure out how can we build into a regular rhythm for us.
Yeah. And you guys know it's tricky. Leading worship is one thing. Having a song then translate recorded, whether it's studio or a live recording, is a whole nother tricky thing. It's very difficult to get that right and to have that energy there, and then to have it connect with a congregation who doesn't have that as part of their DNA, hasn't been singing that song for years. So you do hear different elements of familiar things. Like there are a couple of little hymn things going on, a couple of these tracks, things that pull people in. But yeah, these songs are pretty easy to get a hold of. Chuck mentioned something about Beauty in the Death. I want to talk about this song because I love the bridge of this song. That death leads to death, life leads to life part is so compelling. So I would love to hear more about that song, Beauty in the Death.
So Chuck leads this tune on the record and does a killer job. Like he put down a killer vocal on it and just leads it with so much conviction. So this song, like Good News, it's a song I wrote. I was just telling Chuck this the other day, actually. I remember starting writing it. It was a Sunday morning. I think it was Easter Sunday, like 2016. And I'm driving to go lead worship at the Ephrata campus at the time. And I just remember, I think worship leaders, we probably all do this, but like you have those early morning car rides to the church. And I just remember it was Easter Sunday and I'm just kind of praying and talking to God. And in my prayer, it just came out like, I was just thinking about resurrection, what he's done for us, Easter. I said, man, there's beauty in the death, where grace and mercy, they're expressed, right? That was the original line. But that's just what came out in a moment of prayer. And I just kept like kind of meditating on beauty in the death. And like, that was the inception of that song. And it was something I just loved about that juxtaposition of like death, which is just the anguish, the pain, the sorrow that Jesus had to go through, and just how it's so incredibly beautiful at the same time, what he's done for us. Our faith is hinged upon that moment of his death and resurrection. Because of that, we find life. And so I knew I just wanted to kind of put that whole feeling into a song. And it just kind of became Beauty in the Death as I wrote it. So funny thing about the bridge, because you say you love the bridge so much. So yeah. I wrote this song 2016, 2017. I pitched it to these guys. I think like they were all okay on it. Yeah, it's okay. I think they liked it, but Jordan specifically forever was like, I had a whole different bridge in there originally. And he was like, I just don't know if that bridge quite fits the song. And like, I think I wrote 2 other bridges. Carrie and Jordan tried to write a bridge, and nothing just like felt like it was working. until this year, and I just remember it was just like month and a half, 2 months ago, probably 2 months ago now. I just remember just sitting right here actually at this desk and just kind of mulling on the lyrics, and that bridge just came out. I wanted it to be almost like a culmination of the tune, just like the peak moment, and just, man, just, and your death leads to death of sin and shame, calling me out, from my grave. And so it just kind of came out and happened, and really grateful because I do feel like it really helped. Jordan was right. It was the other bridges I had stunk, and so it was better.
So Jordan, you like this one now?
Yeah, I was like, when I heard this, like the new bridge, like I just kept telling him like through the year, I was like, no, it's just not right. Like it just needs to feel like, I don't know, just like this anthem moment, and just like the top of the song, right?
Yeah.
And when I heard this, it just was like, that's exactly like what it needs to be. It felt so great. So I was pumped.
I love that it makes you think too. The first time I heard it, and I was like, death leads, we're in the church, we're used to singing death leads to life. Or, you're used to going from the opposite thing. And when I first heard it, I thought, wait, death leads to death, what? And so it almost has like that like light bulb catch moment in the bridge where you go, oh yeah. And then you can run and like sing it, as from a congregational standpoint. There's an aha there that has an incredible energy. So I love that part, that kind of flip on what the way that we're used to saying it.
I love that too. As a lyrical nerd, like I love that, but like sometimes we can also get too clever, and so I remember asking, is that like too clever? Like, are people going to get hung up on that? But it also seemed to work. So
just one note too on that exact thing, the lyrical changes. As Ryan was just describing the story, he told about the first line as he was writing to Ephrata about your grace and mercy are expressed. Literally, we're up to the point of the filming of this song. I'm still singing the original lines because I just preferred them. It just felt more right. And yet I love that we collaborate and like tweak things to find, okay, this is the direction we're headed. But I still think grace and mercy are expressed in that moment. So
awesome. So cool. There's also a beautiful song, Worthy of It All. Who wants to talk about that one? This one is beautiful. The vocals on it are beautiful. You get some harmonies in there that are really, really nice. And this is one that is a little slower. I mean, there's a lot of great tempo on this project. This one would be kind of in the slightly more mellow category, but it's a gorgeous song. Takers, Carrie?
Carrie.
I didn't talk to Carrie very much yet. She's supposed to do this whole interview.
Yes, Ebony Wilson is who sang on this track, and that's like her live take. Like it's amazing. Like just her first take, her first go at it. She just brings it was very cool to me. So I wrote this one, and it was cool to see how she brought a different like life and power to it, just with her vocal and hearing the band. And there's like this one is maybe a little less tied to resurrection. The bridge is definitely like from brokenness to righteousness. Your scars became my testament. That's very much the resurrection, the cross. But this one's just a straight up praise. We were talking about like the journey that the album takes you on, like good news, beauty, and the death, and like just to get to a point where all you want to do is just say hallelujah, basically. So this song actually, it came from, I had my childhood piano recently moved to where I live now. So from my parents' house, and like, there's just something about an old out of tune, like kind of the keys don't all work super great. I was just playing around. The song came out really quick because it reminded me, maybe it's because of this old piano, of like the years of like when I started worship leading and like living at home with my parents, playing this piano, squeaky floor, like a dent under the pedal and stuff, to like I'm so grateful to get to work with this team because they just push so hard for, like, I've learned a lot from them, and the songwriting and just the stories that you can put into the song. So this song is kind of like just gratitude for what we've seen in our church and the journey that our church has been on, and tied in with Easter, just leading there. So this one's more like just the more general, like praise, hallelujah.
There are, though, some really important lyrics there for what I think people are experiencing collectively in the darkness to light, winter to spring. Those are in there. And that I think speaks so much to people who have been in so much darkness, who have been literally through the season of winter. We're getting to spring. Easter is so nicely timed in that transition. And that's where some of those lyrics come in. And when I hear that and hear it's in such a beautiful setting, I think it really has potential to connect with a lot of people in a special way. So
Yeah.
that's some of the stuff I love about it.
Yeah, what's so great about that, like a song like that too, like I can remember when we'll send like demos to each other, like voice memos and that kind of thing. And I'm sure we each have probably, a dozen of the voice memos from these original songs, like from the original portion of these songs, that we can look back on and be like, man, like this, it's just cool to see kind of where they started, where they went from, and the collaboration points along the way. And again, the 12 iterations that you have from start to finish to what it someday becomes. It's a lot of fun.
The final track on this EP is Take My Life and Let It Be. Matt Goss did that song in the early 2000s. And then hearing it again at this time, I'm curious, how'd that song get on the project? What's bubbling it up to the surface again in this season?
Yeah, so that song kind of came out of an LCBC weekend, and we were trying to find just the right follow-up song to one of David's messages, David, our senior pastor. And so we really liked the hymn, Take My Life and Let It Be. But to be honest, when we went looking for the right arrangement, we couldn't find a good version of it, basically. And so one of the things Matt says often, Matt, our worship pastor, he said, sometimes if you can't find the right song, maybe you're supposed to write that song. So he took his own advice in that moment, and he wrote a great arrangement of Take My Life and Let It Be. And he wrote this like really timeless chorus. I think Donovan, you described it as just like, it just kind of feels timeless. And he did it in a true Matt fashion in probably in a half hour, just whipped it out quick. And it was an arrangement that we then did that weekend at LCBC. And so this cut that you hear is actually, we remixed it, but it's live from that weekend. That was like maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that, 8 weeks ago. Or was it early? It was mid-January, somewhere around there. So, but yeah, really, really great arrangement. And one of the things I loved about his arrangement was kind of the minor-ish feel through the verses that just really opened up to this really just hopeful, take my life, I'm living for your glory. Like Matt just made it transition so beautifully.
Awesome. I love the project. I love the sound and the themes that are on it. So good talking with all of you guys. Want to remind people you can hear LCBC on JTL 10 o'clock Sunday mornings. You get to hear worship and the word as well. And that Rise, the EP, is out. You can stream it wherever you stream, wherever you listen to your music. It's out. It's ready to go. And definitely take a listen. Take advantage of watching the videos too, because they add a very special something. So to all of you, Jordan and Ryan and Donovan and Carrie and Chuck, thank you for talking to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Kristi.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you so
Kristi.
much for having us.